Contact, one! Two moving left, two moving left!
Without a doubt, this has easily been one of the most requested Airsoft videos I've been asked to do. So, without any further delay, let's get right into my custom gun armory. Real quick before we begin, I would just like to quickly say that this video will not have every single gun in my collection. That will be reserved for a later video in which we are going to collect all the team members' guns into one place and then do a mass video on them. But for now, we're just going to be mainly focusing on the custom guns in my armory. Now, to be classified as a custom gun, pretty much the parameters are I have to have built it in some form or fashion, modified it, or kind of upgraded it to the point where you could, I guess, classify it as a custom gun. So, without further ado, and that being said, let's get started.
Target down.
Alright, starting with the smallest gun, let's go ahead and talk about my sidearm. This is the Elite Force 1911 TAC version. This particular handgun is by far the most reliable handgun I have ever used, and that's saying something. As you probably know, we play a lot of outdoor games, mainly DV8, TAC, stuff like that. The problem we come across with our gas blowback handguns is that if you get any sand in the action or dirt, chances are it's going to lock up. And that's mainly due to the fact that they were green gas guns. Now, the thing about this gun is it's CO2 powered. It comes with a 14-shot CO2 magazine. And that's pretty much the reason why it's so reliable in outdoor conditions. Because it utilizes CO2, it has a lot more pressure than standard green gas handguns. So when that gun goes off and kicks, it has a lot more oomph to kick that dirt and debris or whatever might be holding up the gun out of the way. But if 14 shots isn't really cutting it for you, you could always upgrade to 27-shot CO2 magazine. Come on, that's cool and you know it. But enough about that, let's go ahead and move into the modifications that I have done for my handgun. Like I said before, this is the TAC version of the 1911. Now, what's cool about the TAC version is they come in a tan and a gray coloration. This particular one is a tan model, but you'll probably be wondering why the heck is it green? That's because I spray painted. I gave it a little bit of a custom paint job. Since that was a long time ago, and since then, the paint has started to wear off and reveal that kind of tan undercoat, which isn't the prettiest, but hey, it works, and it was cool while it was cool when I first applied it. So for the grips, I have Magpul 1911 MOE grips, obviously in OD green. Because this gun has the frame designed to encompass a CO2 cartridge, it's kind of a little fatter. So with these Magpul grips, I had to slightly modify them with the Dremel in order to fit on there correctly. But once I got them cut down a little bit, they fit no problem. And lastly, other than that, the only other thing I've done to the gun is just add some custom engravings to it on the slide and on the frame of the gun, just to give it that little extra cool factor there. Other than that, that's about it pretty much for the gun. I really don't have any desire to change anything else out because it just runs so smoothly. So, let's go ahead and move on to the next gun.
Clear, go in, go in, go in, go, go, go.
Alright, so the first carbine we have on the list is the VFC Scar L. Now, I originally designed this gun out of a need for a really close quarters gun. I accomplished that by chopping down the barrel length on it. I bought a little, God, is that like an inch? It's like an inch outer barrel, attached an Advanced Armament Co. or AAC three-prong flash hider on it, and installed a 300mm inner barrel. That, coupled with the fact that you can fold the stock on this gun, makes this an extremely compact package for CQB. The gun shoots about 350 FPS, so this is pretty much legal at all CQB fields. Now you'll notice that on here currently I have a tan stock. This will be swapped out for a black one in the future because right now the wiring, this tan one is the only one that's working. The black stock I have, the wiring's kind of messed up, so once I get the wires in the black stock fixed though, I plan to swap it out for this one because the tan and the black, I want an all black gun for CQB because you gotta add that really extra tactical factor to it. Alright, so moving on to some of the attachments and upgrades I've done to the gun. As I said before, this is an AAC three-prong flash hider. On the very front end of the gun, I've got a Magpul MOE vertical grip. Now, typically I actually don't really like vertical grips, but because this gun's so short and compact, I think it really helps out. I mean, it really allows you to pull that gun in your shoulder and maneuver it really well. I've actually upgraded the fire selectors, and these are really old. I don't even know if they're making these anymore. These are Magpul VFC Scar fire selectors. I don't even know, like I said, I don't even know if they're making these things anymore. They are old, but man, do they look cool on the gun. Now, any of the carbines, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the internals of the gun because if I went over every single internal part I installed on the guns, we would be here forever. Plus, I don't think a whole lot of guys are really interested on all the details of all the internal upgrades I've done on the gun. But if you would like to know any of the internal upgrades I've done to any of these guns, please be sure to leave them in the comment section down below, and I will gladly reply to you and let you know what I got on these things. But without further ado, let's keep moving on. On the very top, we have a little China clone. It's kind of like a T1 Micro, I think. I really don't know a whole lot about this sight other than that it was cheap. So yeah, it's nice, it works, and it really I think it really kind of completes the overall look of it too. Gun also comes with some backup sights in case the sight ever goes down. All the sights are zeroed on it, so it's shooting pretty accurately, but other than that, that'll about cover it for my VFC Scar L. Again, this gun was mainly designed out of necessity to have a really close quarters, compact kind of package, and also I kind of use this as my backup gun in case one of my primary guns I'm using on that day happens to break. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the next gun. Alright, so next up we have one of my all-time favorite custom guns. This is the Phantom. A little warning ahead of time, I have pretty much given really cheesy generic names to all my M4s because I get tired of calling them M4s, so I give them these really tacky generic names that look cool in post-editing. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about this gun a little bit. I originally designed this gun for milsim events specifically. Now, the requirements for this work, it has to shoot around 400 FPS. In fact, I got this gun so close to 400, it's like shooting like 399, something like that, so it's right there on the edge of the maximum amount of FPS you're allowed to use at most milsim events, such as American Milsim, which we commonly go to. In addition to that, I wanted this gun to be really lightweight and compact because, as you know, most milsim events take place at indoor/outdoor facilities. So the ability for me to go door to door, close quarters was really important, and also having a lightweight gun would definitely help out with that. However, because you're not really too sure of the kind of engagements you're going to be getting at these milsim events, the gun had to be something that could do decent amount of range out to longer distances. Now the challenge for me was how can I maximize the shortness of the gun and how can I make it shoot as far as it possibly can. As you'll notice, at the very front end of the gun, the suppressor is actually integrated into the rail system. What this allows me to do is get the absolute maximum, I guess you could say, shortness of the gun to the fact that I can get that inner barrel all the way out, right out to the end of the suppressor. If I had a flash hider on the end of it, it might add an extra inch onto it. So because I'm using this suppressor system, I don't have to worry about that and I save about an inch of overall length. Plus it looks cool. How I'm able to get to such good range is I'm using a 6.03 Type 4 inner barrel along with a Pro-Win hop-up unit and a flat hop. Alright, but enough of that, let's go ahead and talk about some of the attachments. As I said before, we have a suppressor that integrates into the rail system. This suppressor is a matrix suppressor, kind of generic, nothing really special about it. It's kind of got some cool engraving marks on it. This suppressor attaches onto a Noveske barrel made by Mad Bull, and it is a one-piece outer barrel, so it's extremely sturdy. The rail system that I'm using is a Noveske NSR rail. I believe it's 11 inches in overall length. And attached to that, I have a Magpul angled foregrip, which allows me to get that really tight into the shoulder kind of grip and utilize that uber operator tactical thumb over bore kind of hold on it. Also on the very front of the gun, I have a UTG flashlight, and I mounted it via a offset mount, so when I have my hand here in the front of the gun, I can just come up with my thumb, press the on switch, and hey presto, you got a light right at the ready. I've also attached some Magpul ladder rail covers on just to add that extra cool effect. Now I do have flip-up sights on this gun. These are ICS flip-up sights, and they're not bad. They're pretty lightweight, reasonably durable, haven't had any problems with them. Moving a little further back, we have a standard generic China clone EOTech sight. Now if you guys I get a lot of questions as to where you can find these. I mainly get these off of Amazon or eBay. That's pretty much your best chance to find them because you won't really find these in most airsoft stores. So again, eBay or Amazon, you can find these China clone EOTech sights. The grip I'm using on this gun is a Magpul PTS Miad grip. What this allows me to do is mount different types of back straps under the gun so you can customize it to how well it fits your hand and making it the most comfortable you can possibly make it. And lastly, on the very end of the gun, I have just a generic black crane stock. The receiver I'm using on this gun is a G&P M4 receiver. Now on all my custom guns, I love to use G&P because G&P is very compatible with a plethora of aftermarket upgrade parts. You'll notice a common trend with all my custom guns, I'm using mostly G&P receivers. They are extremely high quality, I've had no problems with them so far, and they just work, so I don't know, huge fan of them. So if you guys are looking into getting or building an M4 for the first time, I would highly suggest looking at a G&P receiver. Other than that, the only other thing on here I have is a mag pull style, I guess you can call that a swivel sling mount. It kind of goes from right to left, so if you transition, if you have the sling attached here, and you transition to your other offhand, then it kind of swivels between left and right, so you don't have to worry about taking that sling on and off or getting in the way of the stock. And lastly, the only other thing I've done to the gun is add these tiny little engravings under the gun here and there, just add that extra cool, again, brownie point, kind of cool looking factor to the gun. So, other than that, that'll about wrap it up for my Phantom. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the next gun.
Target down, target down!
Alright, so the third rifle on our list is my jumbo carbine, which I have dubbed the Predator. I originally designed this gun because I wanted a weapon to use at outdoor fields. As you can see, I've kind of tricked it out with all the OD green furniture on it. Internally, I've upgraded this gun to shoot around 420, 415, give or take, feet per second. Because outdoors have such long engagement distances, you really need that little extra oomph of power behind your BBs to reach out and touch those targets at a long distance. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with the attachments I have on this gun. On the very tip, I have a Mad Bull. I believe they call it an aggressive compensator. Kind of gives it a unique look to it. Kind of cool. The barrel that it is attached to is a Noveski 14.5-inch one-piece outer barrel made by Mad Bull. Now the rail that I'm using on here is a Centurion Arms CMR rail. Now what's unique about this rail in comparison to other rails like the one I had on my previous gun, it has the same system like the Keymod and M-Lock systems where you can kind of pick and choose what parts you want your rails to be on your actual rail system. But instead of like attaching via Keymod, they actually screw directly into the rail system itself, which I find makes for a much sturdier lockup and stays in place a lot better because I've had Keymod accessories and M-Lock accessories kind of come loose on me. I've yet to have a single problem with this one. I have front and rear flip up backup sights. I don't even, to be honest with you, I don't even remember the brand of these. Just some generic, I think eBay bought sights. They work, they get the job done, and they kind of add that extra cool factor, so hey, can't complain. Moving back, on the top here we have another China clone EOTech sight. Again, if you want to find these, I recommend looking on Amazon and or eBay, and you can kind of get them for like 20, 30, maybe 50 bucks depending on the model you want to get. But I've been a huge fan of EOTech sights because they got this really large open window and they have this really big honking reticle on it, so you can easily acquire targets, and you have a very large field of view because of this big piece of glass. Like my previous gun, for the pistol grip, I am using a Magpul PTS Miad grip, obviously in OD green. Moving further back, we have a basic OD green crane stock, no real general brand to it, just a kind of generic crane stock. And other than that, I haven't really done a whole lot to it. I guess one thing I did forget to mention is I have a Magpul Angle Foregrip version 2 on here. Like I said before, I do generally prefer the Angle Foregrips as opposed to just the regular vertical grips, just personal preference of mine. And on longer guns, it really does help with you getting that further grip out there at the end because you can kind of have that little angled slope to it. Makes it really comfortable for you to hold on to. The entire gun is housed around a GNP upper and lower receiver with a GNP gearbox. I've done a lot of personal upgrades to the internals so I can increase the FPS and range of the gun. And lastly, for the icing on the cake, my dust cover is a custom laser engraved dust cover that was gifted to me by RWM number 11, or as you guys know him as Nick. It's got my team number on there, which is 37, and it's got a little icon of a cobra on there, which once upon a time was my call sign. So, pretty cool little feature right there to top it all off. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the final gun.
Out. Get him, get him. Find the hole, find the pole, find the pole. If that grenade comes in, I want it out.
Alright, so for the final gun on our list, we have one of my personal favorite guns that I've built actually pretty recently. And it's this bad boy right here, the Reaper. How sick is that? Now, as you can tell, this is a DMR style kind of gun, obviously designed for longer range engagements. I recently came to the conclusion that the majority of my guns are carbine slash kind of close quarters guns. I really didn't have anything that was designed to engage targets out to longer distances. Hence, the Reaper was born. Now this gun shoots about 450 feet per second, and that's contributed to the fact that, again, I have upgraded the internals of the gearbox to accommodate a stronger spring, stronger piston and piston head combo, etc. You get the point, as well as adding a very long inner barrel on it. I believe the inner barrel on this gun is about 550 millimeters. I could be wrong on that. If I am wrong, I'll go ahead and annotate it on the screen right here. Moving on to the attachments, we'll start at the front here. We've got a matrix suppressor which houses the inner barrel. The suppressor is attached to a Noveske one-piece outer barrel, again made by Madpole. I think you're kind of noticing a trend here that I'm using this barrel in a lot of my builds. They're just such good barrels. I mean, they're really good. I haven't had a single problem with them. If you guys are looking into building one of your M4s, really recommend getting one of these. Moving down, we have a UTG hairstyle bipod. This features both extendable and retractable legs, like that. And kind of makes it nice for adjusting depending on what kind of position you're in. Maybe you're in a prone position and you need to make that leg longer or shorter, you can do so accordingly. Very nice bipod, I really recommend these. The rail on this gun is a Noveske NSR rail. It's basically the exact same one I was using on my other carbine, except this is the 13-inch version. The scope I'm using on here is an AIM Sports 3-9 power scope, and man oh man is this thing worth the money. I think I only got this thing for about $80 or so, and let me tell you, this thing works fantastically for what I'm using it for. It has adjustable magnification on it, so you can, again, dial it down from 3 all the way up to 9. It also has an illuminated reticle feature, which lights up as both green and blue if you're playing outdoor night games and you can't really see your reticle too well. That's a nice feature, and it also allows you to adjust the level of brightness on each color. Lastly, at the rear here, we have a G&P full-length stock. I really wanted to get a full-length stock to really complete the look of the DMR kind of roll to this gun, and I think it really accomplishes that, really nicely. It features a QD sling attachment point here on the left and right side, so you can flip it over to either side, whichever you prefer. And it also has a sling attachment point towards the rear of the stock, although I don't really use slings too often when I use this gun, so they kind of just go unused. Now this gun, believe it or not, was actually kind of designed more or less from scrap parts I had laying around here. This receiver was actually made off of some old dinky D-Boys M4 receiver that broke on me a while ago. So I kind of just salvaged that, put in whatever gearbox I had laying around at the moment, threw that in there, threw in some extra parts, and the only real thing I put a lot of money into was everything pretty much here up front, which would be the rail, the outer barrel, the inner barrel, that kind of stuff. Pretty much everything inside the body of the gun, aka the receiver, the gearbox, and stuff like that, kind of a scrap part to have laying around, and for what I had, I think it actually turned out pretty nicely. The only other thing in here I upgraded that was that's a huge upgrade to this gun is the G&P. I think it's a M150, maybe an M160 motor. I forget the exact specs on it, but man oh man does that thing spin so fast. I'm sure you're watching some of the B-roll footage right now roll in, and that was the reason why I got that motor, is because I really wanted to get that really snappy, really fast trigger response. Other than that, I really haven't done too much to it. I haven't put any backup sights to it because, again, it's a sniper. I really don't think I'll be using backup sights. But yeah, I think that'll about wrap things up for my final gun on the list. Be sure to tell me what gun you like the most out of my entire collection in the comment section down below. Alright guys, so that'll about wrap things up here. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you all enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button down below. It really helps us out. And also, if you have any questions regarding any of the guns you've seen in this video, such as this awesome DMR, please be sure to leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to reply to them to my best ability. Also, please be sure to subscribe to the channel for uploads every single Thursday. Alright guys, once again, that'll about wrap things up. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.